Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. This your brother Kwame the Great Millstone Charlotte Camp. Come with a quick lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And this afternoon, I just wanted to touch on the topic of, World War III, man. Right, we see so-called peace talks being, discussed among the U.S. and Iran, but we know that the ultimate end is war, man. Right, Peace is not an option, right? According to prophecy, right? So they're discussing, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, right? They're discussing, so-called peace between them, Iran, Israel, Lebanon, and throughout that whole region. But we know that ultimately, peace, right, won't come, right? Only the facade of peace, right? And it brought to mention a quote from this movie, Troy, where they were preparing for war, and as they were getting ready to enter the battlefield, they said it will be a good day for the crows, man. And that's the ultimate end, right? Is that this is going to be a good day for the for the crows, as we'll get in that Ezekiel 39th chapter, right? It's going to be great death that takes place across the earth, really, right? But as the scriptures say, in the valley of decision, right, where the Lord, because this is the Lord's war at the end of the day, right? This is His war against the wicked, right? But that great death is being prepared, man. And there's no peace agreements, no contracts, no treaties that are going to be signed, right, that are going to offset that, right? Now I wanted to start here, Revelation 11 and verse 14. It reads, "The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly." Right? So this is where we're at, is that third woe is coming quickly, man. Right? Those rumors, right, continue to intensify, right? You hear more and more reports, right, day in and day out. All these nations are preparing themselves, right, for this final battle, man, right? This climax, Now let's get that in Joel 3. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. It reads, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war." Right, so we're the only ones telling the world what's about to happen, man. Right, you need to be preparing for war. Right, now we're preparing for a spiritual war, but these nations are preparing the war against each other, and then ultimately a war against Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Right, that's why the scriptures talk about the devil and his angels fighting against Michael and his angels, man. Right? That's the the Esau using his machinery to try to take out the chariots, man. Right? But it says, "Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up," because they're all being laid out, man. Right? And they're ultimately going to be a feast for the crows, man, and the other wild animals, right? The beasts, right? It says, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." Right? So we're seeing everybody preparing, right? Whether out in front or behind the scenes, they're all preparing for that final battle, man, because they know it's coming. They feel it in the air, right? Regardless of what you see happening, what's the word? With the World Cup and things of that nature, right? Where people are, on one accord, right? And there's some level of camaraderie, right? War is still in the air, right? Right. That's why it says here in the NLT, "Hammer your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Train even your weaklings to be warriors," because all these nations are preparing the minds of their citizens for war, man. Everybody except for America. They want to keep that veil right over the minds of these Babylonians, man. right? But these other nations, right, as you know, it talks about the plowshares and into swords, you know, the agriculture and things of that nature. It's all going to be turned into, you know, wartime infrastructure, man, right? You know, they're going to have to be producing weapons and producing, you know, you know, what's it called, tanks and like Humvees and things of that nature, man, right? Ultimately, those swords being those missiles, right? Because there are more nations that are nuclear capable than ever before. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Right. So now we're seeing that they're gonna be gathered in the so called Middle East, man. Right. They're gonna all be, you know, brought together and for that final battle. Right. You know, and Iran is gonna be a center point of that. Right. You know, along with Russia, China. Right. You know, all those Middle Eastern countries, right? You know, with the U.S. and those Israelis, right, being on the opposite end, man, right? So all these, again, the peace deals are gonna come to nothing, man, right? You know, they as the scriptures say, they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction, man, right? That goes for this as well, right? They feign, right, or you know, try to what's the word? You know, pull the wool over people's eyes, right, with all the media, right, in order to get the people in the mind frame of, okay, this is finally over, you know, and then the next 24 hours it's a missile strike, or it's you know, somebody says something that completely nullifies the deal, or and things of that nature, man, right? You know, because that war is destined to happen, man. It's prophesied to happen, right? Because this is the Lord's war. At the end of the day, it says, "Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat," right? Yahweh's judgment, right? Because this is his, again, this is his judgment. This is his war, right? This is him preparing, right, for the slaughter of these nations, man, and their militaries. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about, right? This is what's coming. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great, right? And this is going to be a great sacrifice, right? That great smoke, you know, going up to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? Along with the final being that nuclear fire. But this is going to be a great sacrifice unto the Lord, right? You know, in the midst of this war, right? Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision, man. And that's what we're seeing. The day of the Lord is near, man. It's gonna soon arrive, as it says in the NLT, right? So no amount of peace agreements, so called, right, are gonna offset this, man. And to go back to the point I had made about that quote from the movie, man, right? It's going to be a good day for the birds, you know, because birds will, you know, have always been an omen, right? Those crows, as you see, you know, you see the crows going out and pulling down those Israeli flags, right? You see the crows, you know, pulling down the American flags, right? It's an omen of a downfall of these nations, man, right? And the Lord has a feast prepared for them. Let's go here. Ezekiel 39 and verse 17. It reads, "And thou, son of man, thus saith the Lord power, speak unto every feathered fowl, and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves." So he assembled the nations, right? He assembled all these mighty men of war, right? Right? Ultimately for their death, man. Right? To be that sacrifice, right? To be that meal for the birds and the animals, man. It says, "Gather yourselves on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice for you, right? And this is a sacrifice that's being made, man, right? The Lord is taking all these spirits away, right? And reclaiming them, and that smoke is going to be coming up as a sweet savor for him, man, right? It says, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that ye may eat flesh and drink blood. Ye shall eat the flesh of the mighty and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, right? So all these mighty men, these great warriors, right, are going to be a feast for the animals, man. Of rams, of lambs, and of goats, of bullocks, all of them fatlings of Bashan, and ye shall eat fat till ye be full, and drink blood till ye be drunken of my sacrifice, which I have sacrificed for you, right? So this is what's coming, right? Thus ye shall be filled at my table with horses and chariots and mighty men, and with all men of war, saith the Lord, man. So the Lord has promised a sacrifice to the birds, man, right? It's going to be a beautiful day, for the crows, even then, in the midst of that nuclear destruction, man, right? We know that the earth, or this place, Babylon the Great, is going to be turned into a desert, man. And what it say is it shall be full of those desert creatures, man, right? The owls and the bitterns going into, more birds and more, lizards out there, man, right? So the birds, it's going to be a good day for the birds. Last verse, and I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. Right, so this is what the Lord is preparing to magnify His name ultimately, man. Right, so all these peace talks that you see taking place, so to speak, right, are gonna amount to nothing, man. Right, it's gonna be a good day for the birds. It's gonna be a beautiful time of judgment, right, as the Lord brings death and destruction across the earth, man. Right, because it won't be just in the valley of decision, right? Yahweh Shabbat. Now, where this mass death is taking place, it's going to be global, man, right? And the people are going to be, those sacrifices to the birds as well, man, or those meals for the birds, rather, right? They're going to be a part of that, being taken in the teeth of wild beasts, right? They're going to be a part of that, as it says here, right? Eating of the fat till they be full, man. Let me get that. Hold on. See, and Jeremiah. Yep, this is Jeremiah 25 and starting 32. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coast of the earth, right? Going into that nuclear fire. But that whirlwind also going into, great chaos, man. Right? That's gonna take the earth by storm. It says, and the slain of the earth, and the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground, right? And with all these dead bodies, what's gonna come, man? Wild animals, right? Bears and wolves and mountain lions and right, all manners of birds, right? Right, to clean up those bodies, man. Right? Right? To be that feast that the Lord prepared for them. And that's coming here, and it's gonna be a main focal point in World War III, man. So just quick lesson to the spirit and probably how about Shemi Awashai seeing the Trump and JD Vance talking about the peace deals, Pete Hegseth and all them, and the spirit was like, regardless, man, the meal for the birds, man, right, has been promised by the Lord, right? That great time of feasting, right, was already prophesied, and it's going to be required, through World War III. So these peace talks are going to amount to nothing. So Lord willing, I was edifying through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shai. I want to close by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasharallah and the Baba Ball. Shalom.